Okay, welcome to Hopeifiers. My name's Alan Friesen. You might look next to me and say, hey, that doesn't look like Daniel Zapula. And you are right. Daniel had a vaccine today and he's not feeling so well. So instead, my brother Chris is going to fill in for me. Chris, how long we known each other?
Way too long, Al. No, I'm just kidding. For many years.
Many
Into
years.
the decades, I'm sure.
Yes, for sure it is. Way before Rotary, way before, like you were in Rotary for 20 years before I started. So
yeah, definitely a long time for sure.
Yes. So Chris, who I've known quite well, very nice man, very caring, very helpful, big community builder, very dedicated to his clients and giving them amazing images of their families and special moments in their lives. He's a very talented man, very enjoyable guy to have around. Very optimistic. Chris, welcome to Hopeifiers.
Thank you.
Here's what we're hoping to do tonight. If you and I are going to have this amazing conversation that's about these life-affirming type concepts, and in that conversation, you and I, and hopefully the people who are watching, are going to have a bump up in their hope, a bump up in their optimism, a bump up in their peace and joy and gratefulness in their lives. So if we can pull that off, that's great. And if we can't, we're just going to have a nice conversation. How's that sound?
Definitely.
So what I was going to talk about with Daniel tonight was about the concept of empathy and how important is empathy, and how does empathy relate to better lives for us and for the people that we are showing empathy to? You want to jump in here and give me your thoughts?
Well, about empathy in today's.
Yeah, I think it seems like how I see empathy as just basically kind of seeing the other person where they're at and understanding and just being able to understand the situation that they're in and be able to be there with them in that situation. Does that sound true to you from what you understand empathy to be?
Yeah, being able to feel what other people are feeling and sort of go, if I'm feeling like this, probably they could be as well.
Sure.
Yes. Like we've had lots of things taken away from us because of COVID, but we should look at the world in the opposite of that. What hasn't it taken away? Because there's lots that we still have.
Very much so.
Lots to be grateful for.
Right. And sometimes we have the opportunity for some of us, I realize COVID's a whole different thing for different people, but for some of us, this is a great opportunity that we have more time with our family, more time to learn, more time to take courses, more time to read books, right? Those kind of things, which that's been your experience, has it not?
Well, for sure. I try and ask the world every day for something new. And I usually get that. You can find something new to do, something new to learn, and that can keep you going for a long time. Gives you
definitely so.
Of hope. There's so many things to do and watch and learn out there that we only get so many spins around the sun.
That's a fact. That is a fact, my friend. So tell me this though. You had said you ask the world. What is that process for how you ask the world? Like, do you have like an affirmation or something, or what do you do?
I keep my eyes open. And try and see something new, learn, keep my ears open. I listen to the radio. If I'm, I don't have a lot of idle time in my day. From the time I get up, I'm tuning into the radio, listening to, a few different news type stations and catching news when I can, and interacting with people has gone down a little bit with the pandemic. So, there's more time to listen to what's going on in the rest of the world too. So.
Sure, you bet. And that being open and being aware of things, that opportunities that might come up or things that you have to learn. I think that's a big thing about being curious, right? Being curious and being kind of childlike in your, what can I explore today? What can I learn today? Right? That kind of a thing. Man, you think of, I think sometimes we get a little too, we know these things, we don't want to know anything else. We're going to do this day like this, and that's how it works, and we're not interested in anything new. But I think just the exposure to other things and the exposure, I think you'd agree that you I have something to learn from every person that I meet. Some people I got like a ton, like 50 lessons or 1,000 lessons to learn, but I got one lesson for sure to learn from every person I meet. Does that make sense to you? Does that resonate with you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And there's most people have something to share. And, everybody's sort of thinking the same sort of stuff, though. We're all not that much different in a lot of ways. Everybody's got hopes and fears and dreams, and and I don't know how that plays into empathy, but
well, just the awareness that we are so alike, right? I mean, if you compared everybody in the world, like 98% of what we have in terms of is in common, and there's like 2% of things that we would say are different than us and would divide us. Like maybe that number is, maybe it's 99.5 and 0.5, but it's a huge thing that we have in agreement, or that we all share as human beings on this planet. Would you agree?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes. You know what? You've had more exposure with people from other countries because you have been a Rotary host for the exchange programs. How many times, you and Teresa?
4 times.
4 times. And in that, where were your young people from? We
had a Hungarian boy. Actually, no, we had a girl from Japan at first, and Saki, and she stayed with us for a few months. We were at the tail end of her exchange, and then the next year we had Milan from Hungary, and then we had Jules from Germany.
Oh, yeah, I remember her. Yeah,
and then we had Lotzi from Hungary, and since then we haven't hosted, and now the program didn't happen last year, and I'm not sure if it's going to happen yet this year. So no. But the point I'm getting is that, through that exposure of these young people from different countries, you learned a lot about their countries, right? You learned a lot about them and what their experience might have been growing up too, right? Oh, for sure. Yeah. Some shared more though, and others didn't. You got to learn a lot about their own personality. And it was kind of funny. The first gal that we had just loved to come out and have dinner with us, and then go back into her room, and
that was it.
That was her whole night to spend. I don't know if that's what she did back home. Maybe she got banished to her room after dinner. But, I was telling my wife after she was with us for a couple months, I think I had a couple of photos of her. We really didn't get to know her very well at all.
Yes.
And so, we thought, well, they can't all be like that. And then when we had Milan come the next year, it was like night and day. He was busy, but when he was home, he hung around with us.
Right.
And, he played hockey and had a lot of friends, and it was his last bit of time with us, or in his exchange. So by then they've had 8 months, and so they got all kinds of friends, and they're on social media. They can find out what's happening, in seconds, where without making a bunch of phone calls, people are just, hey, come and do this. So we'd always had something planned, which is good. And that's kind of what I said. I said, Milan, you don't have to hang around here and entertain us. We're here as a springboard for you to go do as many different things as you can while you're here. So do not hang around here unless you have nothing else to do. And he took us up on that. He was good. Yeah. Nice. And, he's in Spain right now going to university though. So
cool.
Yeah. And we hear from them all the time. Lotzi was wishing us a happy Easter, and Jules and the 3 of them we hear from. But so it's good. Yeah.
Hey, have you ever heard of Daryl Davis by chance? Double D Blues Band.
Okay.
Anyways, okay, well that's all right. I ran across this guy and when you're talking about exposure to different cultures, exposure to different people, exposure to different ways, right? This Daryl, a black man, about our age. Well, I'm probably older than you, about my age. So he goes and his father was with the U.S. government in kind of like an embassy type position. So they traveled all over the world, right?
Okay.
So little Daryl goes and he lives in Japan, and he lives in Iran, and he lives in Afghanistan, and he lives in Australia, and his his peer group is it's like the United Nations, right? Kids of all different colors, kids of all different religions and nationalities and different clothes and different food and all this. So, but everybody gets along. It's all cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
His dad gets a posting in the US. So they moved back to the US. And so Daryl, he's about 8 years old, if I recall at this time, he goes and he joins the Scouts. And so he's part of the Scout troop, and that's all fine. And then they have a little parade. So they're doing this little parade and they're walking down the sidewalk, and Daryl is getting hit with cans and bottles and rocks. And it's just like, he's like, why are they throwing rocks at the Scouts? Like, what's wrong here, right? And then the Scout leaders, figure out what's going on in a big hurry, and they come around Daryl to protect him from getting hit because they were throwing rocks at him because he's black, right? So they have to explain to this 8-year-old kid that, well, these people hate you and they're throwing stuff at you because of your skin color. And he's like dumbfounded. How can this happen? Like, how can somebody hate me if they never even met me? If they met, which is a real good question, right? Wow. So anyways, what he makes his life mission, and I think this is amazing, he reaches out to leaders of Ku Klux Klan groups, and he reaches out to them to say, I want to meet you. I want to shake hands with you. I want to look you in the eye. And so he does this not once, like 20, 30 times. And when he does this, a lot of these guys, like real white supremacist type guys, then say, hey, this is the first time I've ever met a black man. You're pretty much like me. It's this big revelation for them, right? And so there was more than 20 times the people who were like grand wizards and that kind of stuff would turn over their cape and their hood and such over to Daryl to say, I'm out. And, here, you can keep this as a memento kind of a thing. But what an amazing story of reaching out and then having somebody kind of take that, extending that hand of friendship and asking some questions and learning about it. It was such an amazing story. Yeah. So,
well, I believe hatred is taught.
Oh, for sure. Right.
You can put two kids of any color together when they're really young and they'll play. They don't have any issues. They learn from their parents hatred or love of all races. As I luckily had parents that weren't racist, and from very early on, they taught me right and wrong in that area. And I've never ever felt know what it'd be like to feel that way against somebody else.
Right.
Everybody's the same color. And you'd think in my lifetime things would have gotten better, but it seems that things have gotten worse.
Yeah.
In recent years.
Yeah.
And a lot of hatred out there for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. That level of bitterness and hatred and where we're so close to being the same. Like, I mean, the differences are so small, right? And sure. Is there any human on the planet that doesn't want good health or doesn't want love or doesn't want relationships and doesn't want, to do good by their kids and have their kids have a better life than them? Like, no, every human being on the planet wants that, right?
Most of the musicians I ever heard for probably the first 20 years of my life, I never knew if they were gay, lesbian, black, white, whatever color. I couldn't tell. I could only hear their voice on the radio.
Right.
And now with, everybody can see stuff and write stuff down on social media. And, it just fuels that kind of thought too. But, anyway, there's a lot of good talent out there. So
definitely. Speaking of that, do you know who Tony Joe White is?
Don't bring me to name that tune now. That's
okay. That's all right. Yeah. All I was going to say that Tony Joe White is a white guy, but he sure sounds like a black guy.
Okay.
So he's the original of Poke Salad Annie. Like Elvis did a knockoff of his song, but Poke Salad Annie was his song. And then I heard it years and years, and I always thought the guy was a black man just by hearing his voice, right?
Sure.
And then once I saw him on the album cover, oh, okay, that surprised me. I didn't see that coming. So
good singer though. Yeah.
Oh yeah, love it. Like, yeah, he's got a raspy, growly voice. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have like a perfect childhood, Chris?
Oh, definitely. It was all awesome. I was lucky. I was born into a family of 5 boys. I was number 2, and I was born in 1960. So not a lot on TV back then. It was either on or off, black and white. And my mom, to keep her sanity, would just bundle us all up and throw us outside.
Yeah.
And we loved it.
And it would be, don't come back till 7 o'clock. Right?
Pretty much. Yeah. And so we just learned how to play outside all the time. And that's all we ever did, you know?
Yes.
And that's how we grew up. We were only allowed a certain amount of TV. There's basically one show on at a time. And
yes.
You know, there was no hours, no binge watching anything. So,
yeah. So are you still pretty close with your brothers?
Yeah, well, my dad's still around. He's remarried 2 years ago. He's 84, so he's not letting the grass grow under his feet, which is good.
Yeah,
and he's missing Mesa this year. Otherwise, sure. He's stuck up in Flin Flon. But I don't feel sorry for him because he did pick to live there.
Yes, he chose to. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and we all grew up there, so. I joke around now that I live in Lethbridge that if my parents would have told me about this place, I may have ran away.
Yeah.
You know, Chinooks, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. When Flin Flon gets winter, he gets winter, right? It's
yeah. But, you know, I was lucky. My dad was a dentist. He was the mayor of Flin Flon. Everybody knew who he was. My mom was a well-spoken lady who ran a dry cleaning shop and wrote a history book on Flin Flon. And nice. You know, they did lots of community-minded things. My dad was a Rotarian and a Lions Club guy and on the hospital board and all that kind of stuff. So
nice.
Was, you know, well, nice. Yeah, he was at a lot of meetings and stuff too when we were kids.
Sure.
So I've learned to kind of balance that out because, you know, I don't remember a lot of my dad as a kid.
Right.
But, you know, you got your whole life too. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But geography doesn't help either. So.
No, it does not. And your mom has passed on then, yes?
Yes, she was. She's been gone for 5 years now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And how did she pass?
She had kind of, to make a long story short, she got knee surgery done about 10 years before she died and had constant pain after. The pain never left. It was like some nerve didn't heal so then she bugged the doctors and about 2 years later, they went in for an exploratory and couldn't find anything. And she thought, okay, now I'll heal up from this and it'll go away. Well, the same pain never left. And then she got a second knee surgery done, a complete overhaul of the same thing that they originally did, probably 5 years later at that point. And still the pain didn't go away. So she was on Tylenol 3s and 4s and a whole bunch of stuff. And my dad, being a retired dentist, knew that wasn't good. So he got her off of those pain medications and onto a fentanyl patch, actually.
Oh, okay.
A couple of years.
She must have had a lot of pain she was dealing with. Oh, my goodness.
She did, yeah. And, you know, we at first were really never heard of this kind of stuff, but it's a thing apparently. And she had that. And so she had a DNR deal with my dad because, you know, back 5 years ago, you couldn't even do an assisted suicide at that point.
Right.
And so she developed kidney failure because of the kidney filtering all the pills.
Yeah.
And so she opted to not have any dialysis or anything like that. So. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That, speaking of the no DNR or the DNR type of instructions, do you know who Dr. Darren Hyland is?
No.
He's a doctor. He's an emergency room doctor, and he has created a Planwell guide, it's called. And so what he does, he tries to educate you about if you had a serious failure of the health and you were going to get on all the machines in the hospital. As an example, you said, you know, I want everything, right?
Yeah.
There's a good likelihood you're not going to be the same after that experience, right? Because you know that's the reality of it, right? This damages you to have this whole process. And do you want this, right? And so he's trying to take the stress off the family members so that the ill member has, you know, clearly stated his or her preference, right? This is what I want, right? And then the family's not stressed out and trying to figure out and don't want to come across as being cold or callous, like, you know, if the person has expressed their wishes clearly enough, and actually in the end you write a letter to your doctor, these are my wishes. If that happens, I don't want to be here, don't hook me up to that machine, you know, that kind of a thing, which I think makes good sense. Like I certainly don't want to be, you know, my father-in-law wonderful guy, hardworking guy. He gets Alzheimer's though, and we thought the right thing to do was put him into a place to make sure that he got care. Okay, he was 10 years. He was miserable for 10 years. He lost all his capacity to talk or do anything by himself, kind of a thing. So what kind of an existence was that? It was like, yeah, it wouldn't, like, we would have been better to cut him loose. And if he, whatever, got lost fishing and he died out in the woods, he would have been totally happy. Like that'd have been, that'd have been a better death for him. So,
well, for sure, you'd think,
I would think.
But unfortunately, when you get to that point, you don't have a say anymore.
No.
So that's why it's important to write those things down before you get to that state, and it can happen early.
Sure.
Like there's people younger than me that have already left this earth from early onset, and
yes.
It's worse when you're young. Yeah, it comes on quick, and a lot of people don't think, hey, I don't have enough paperwork written down over here, so you might want to check what your will says.
Exactly. All right. Well, you told me how your mom passed away. I'm going to tell you how my dad passed away. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Because this is actually kind of a fun story. He was 82, I think, and he had like cancer everywhere, and he had it like a couple years before. He had a big car crash, and he had a heart attack, and his health was very, very poor, right? Mm-hmm. And so he had called me and said, hey, I want you to come out tonight to visit. And I was kind of his go-to guy. We moved him from BC to Fort McLeod to stay at a facility in Fort McLeod, a private facility, and they looked after him real well. As soon as he got there, he bounced back, and they were feeding him well and getting his meds on track, and it was all good. Yeah. But anyways, if he needed something, I was going to get it for him. Like when he first moved here, he said, man, I sure wish my pool table. So, a day later, we got a pool table set up there for him, and away we go. Nice. So yeah. So then he calls and he says, you got to come out tonight. And I said, oh, Dad, I don't want to I'm coming tomorrow. No, come out tonight. So Corolla convinces me we should go tonight. So we go out to see him, and we walk in, and he's in the bathroom, and we hear him talking with one of the personal care attendant persons, right? And he's saying something like about getting married. And it's just like, all right, that's a little odd. And then he comes back into the little living area, and he sits on the couch, and like a kid kind of hangs his leg over the edge of the couch, and he's rocking his leg. He's acting like he's way younger than he was. And so he says, I've decided I'm going to get married. And I said, oh, all right, Dad, who's the lucky woman? Oh, I don't know yet. Any of the women over here would be fine. Any of these ladies here would be fine. I said, oh, all right.
None of them knows yet, but they're going to get married soon.
So we're just cracking up about this. And then he says, so, we don't have to have sex, but that'd be okay. But it's mostly just to go on picnics. So he's got this beautiful vision of him and his bride going on these picnics, and the sun's shining, and they're sitting on the grass, eating their sandwiches, having their picnic. And so we had this wonderful, beautiful conversation. He was so full of optimism and about his new life with his new bride and going on picnics. And so then the next morning, he wakes up like for 10 seconds, complains of a headache, dies. That's it, done. And so basically what had happened was he had about a week before, he had got up on his own. He didn't want to wait for the gals to help him. He got up on his own, and he did a face plant on the oxygen machine. And he was all bruised up and had a black eye and everything, that kind of stuff. And I never thought anything of it, but it was a subdermal hematoma, a bleeding in his brain from the impact, right? So he was all whacked out on, like, his brain was all like filled in blood in the wrong places. But he was in a good place. He was positive. He was optimistic. He was looking forward to the future. And we had this beautiful conversation with him. And then the next day he passed on. So,
that's too bad. Wow.
It is. He had a good life. He was a good man. Yeah. So
if that was diagnosed, they could have, drilled a little hole, drained it, and
that's very true. Yes. Yeah, exactly. There was something missing in that equation. But I never thought to ask any more about it. Here's what happened, and okay, well, the bruising in your face is going to go down eventually, and you'll be fine. So
too bad they didn't connect that he hit his head too. I mean,
true. Yeah,
that happens. There's a saying that goes along with that, where people, they fall off their bike with their helmet on, they get hit, and they think they're okay, and maybe not even, they don't even last as long as your dad did. Your dad's a tough guy. It lasted a week, but depending on the severity of the hit too, I guess. But
yeah, exactly.
wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So anyways, it was a good way to die. He had, he didn't have a whole bunch of pain. He was very optimistic at the end. So, I think that's good. He wasn't fearfully awaiting death to take him, right? He was just kind of enjoying life and making plans for tomorrow. So that was kind of fun. So, yeah. So we also have, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry. Something popped up on my screen here.
Oh, you're getting some notices, are you?
Oh, Siri was trying to tell me something about.
Oh, yes. Google often kind of sometimes jumps into conversations and tries to help me out with that as well, like the little Google Home thingy. So, or I can talk into my cell phone. I could say, "Hey, Google, call Chris." And that Google 20.
All right, but first you'll have to unlock your device.
Stop. Yeah. So, but is that camera or that microphone is so sensitive in that Google Home from 20 feet away, it picks it up before my cell phone will pick it up. It's bizarre.
It is pretty amazing. I want the AI, if I'm thinking of my grocery list, it's making the list and the food's going to come to my door tomorrow.
Just like that. You think of it and it's ordered. Yeah. Yes. Have you heard of the Neuralink? Hey, Google, stop talking.
Hey,
Google wants to join our conversation, Chris. Have you heard of the Neuralink?
No.
All right. Let me tell you. Elon Musk is creating this, has another company, like he has several companies, as you know. And
I'm kidding. So far, I haven't known anybody that you've said, so why should I know who Elon Musk is?
Anyways, he has several companies, and one company is Neuralink. And basically, his impetus for forming it was his concern that AI would have an effect like we see in many dystopian type future versions, right? Where the computers take over and then the humans become the slaves to the robots and the computers, right? So because of that, part of his rationale is to have this Neuralink implant. So basically a kind of hardwired into your brain functionality so that you, a human, us, would be equivalent or better than the machines. The machines aren't going to have an advantage, right? But the other part of it is that if you had, let's say, somebody with paralysis or a Parkinson's disease or things that cause that, they could basically have that implant communicate and fire in the right parts to restore functionality, right? Take away paralysis or to end tremors, right? Or seizures, that kind of thing. So yeah, so they've got it. They've done it live in pigs. So, and in pigs, then they have the implant in. They can communicate both ways. They can get messaging back from the pig's brain via the Neuralink implant, and they can send messaging to the pig.
I'll sign up to be the test pilot on one of those. If
Would you?
Throw one in. Let's give it a whirl.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you could sign up for that stuff when you were lucid, I bet you lots of people would.
Oh, I'm sure they would. Just
to try and help out future generations or whatever. So
yeah. Are you on? Do you have Amazon Prime?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever? There's a short series called, I think it's only one season, called Upload. Have you checked that out?
I haven't seen that one yet. No.
Oh, you might find it interesting. I did, and it's in essence what we're talking about. People are close to death. They draw all the memory out of them, and then they implant it into a virtual type human being in heaven, right? So you're in a virtual space that is heaven-like. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Neat. Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. So anyways, if you want to watch the series, I think you'd find it interesting. So
I'll have to check it out. It's on Netflix or on
Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah. The process for taking the memories is unnecessarily violent. Like basically the person's head explodes is what happens. I'm not sure that would be a requirement to this process, but
maybe don't show them the whole video until, you're not going to need this brain anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. So
it explodes while we're draining it on you.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you that we kind of have a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Daniel Zapula? Do you know?
I haven't met him. I don't. Did he ever come to Rotary or?
I don't believe so. No,
Yeah.
I don't believe so. He's involved with Bridges of Hope and with the Miz City Church and several different charities in around is what he's involved with. He's from Africa originally, from what is it? I can't think of the name. It's a 2-word one. Furro Bassano or no?
Burkina Faso.
That's it. Burkina Faso. Yes, thank you. Burkina Faso is where he's from. Okay. And he lives here, of course, now, but he does a lot of charity work there and here, right? So yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, yeah. He's and he's an archbishop. I've never met an archbishop before, but he's an archbishop. So he's a big deal for a
he is
church. Yeah.
That's awesome. And he's on the show with you. So
yeah, exactly. Yes. Thursdays are our little chat nights are what they are. So yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be pinch hitting for him. I'm not him. I know that, but he's a brilliant man for sure.
Anyways, a dream we have that I'll share with you and see if it resonates with you. Mm-hmm. A dream is that we have this image and it captures image. Ooh, I'm talking to a photographer about images. It captures the face of every human being on the planet at the same time. Boom, all 7.6 billion, and you can see them. And everybody that you can see, their eyes are filled with hope, and they are healthy, and their hands want to help and make a difference in their lives and the lives of other people. So we call them 3H humans, that they're healthy, they're hopeful, and they're helping. So anyways, it's kind of does that resonate with you?
Definitely. That picture's being taken right now as we speak. There's lots of surveillance cameras shooting hundreds of millions of images and scanning them into a facial recognition software. Did you see that Netflix series?
Yes, that would be true. Yes, my purposes are a little bit more benevolent.
But then you can just stitch them all together, and you might be able to tell something from their eyes, right?
That's true. It maybe exactly. Yeah.
Be the world's biggest composite photo.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's anything that kind of leads us to a place where we celebrate what we have in common, and we value where we have as differences is kind of what kind of the thought process of this show, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So and I think that's valuable. I think there's we spend way too much time, we as humans spend way too much time looking for what's different and then being scared of what's different and then acting out of fear or having fear and anger about something that's different, somebody that's different, but there's so much like us already, right? So yeah,
that's part of the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems in the world today is understanding other cultures and what people mean. And a gesture in our country is entirely different gesture in a different part of the world.
Yes. Yeah, there's this Lionel LaRoche. He's an instructor. I've taken 2 courses on him, and it's about cultural sensitivity in the workplace, that kind of a thing. And so he comes here from France, and he's been involved with big multinational companies, and they have staff from all different countries across the world. And he said it creates some challenges, right? Because if you're going to have a meeting at 1 p.m., the Germans are there at 1 p.m. The Canadians are going to be there about 1:05. The Mexicans about 1:15. And it's not. They just have a little bit of a fluid conception of time, like different conception of time. It's not bad or good. It's just different, right? But if if one is then, this is wrong, you're wrong, I'm right. Well, obviously that creates a whole bunch of problems. But one thing go ahead.
No, I was going to say that difference between space and time reminded me, and I forget the first very brilliant First Nations elder was talking to a crowd. It was at the, I forget what the topic was, but he basically said, in order to understand our people, you have to understand our sort of thoughts of that there's no difference between space and time. And that's why if we're a little late, there's no time there. There's no difference between space and time. So if I leave my dry cleaning or my pictures at your shop and I come and get them 6 months later, 3 months later, there's no difference between space and time.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's what, and if you understand that, you'll help get along with my people a little bit.
Right.
So,
yeah. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. And that's, a lot of cultures are like that.
Yes.
Soon come, that's soon come. When's it happening?
So with that, there was a story I was going on. Where was I going with this exactly? Oh, yes, because he came from France. And in France, if you met a female a French resident, you'd give her a kiss on the cheek, right? On either cheek, right? Mm-hmm. So he goes to California, and that's how he greets women in California. And after like about 5 slaps in the face, he said, oh, no, they don't do things that way here.
They don't do that here, yeah. In Montreal, they do that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But again, the whole difference of just how cultures do have these differences. But that's interesting, your observation from this First Nations person here. So when was it that you learned about residential schools and about how we treated our First Nations brothers and sisters?
I hadn't heard of them until it became mainstream news 20 years ago. I didn't know we treated people that way in our country until very recently. That's horrible.
I agree.
That took kids from their families, and I would have been an outraged young person, but it was hidden from the rest of society. As far as, I don't think there's any posters or postings or anything. Hey, here's what we're doing.
Yeah. Not that I ever know of. And it was, when I was first told it, I was probably, like, it wasn't that long ago, like in your same kind of time frame, 15 years ago or so. And when it was one of the profs from the U of L who's involved with Aboriginal folks, right? Indigenous peoples. Mm-hmm. And so she was telling me about residential schools. I said, oh, no, you're confused. That didn't happen in Canada. It might have happened somewhere else, but not here,
Yeah.
And then after, being corrected and learning, I said, oh my goodness, I was just, amazed that you're my great grandfathers and etc. were that they were so intent on obliterating a culture, right? On ending a language, on ending the lives of people that lived here long before us and had great lives. They had a very more, I'm sure they had battles, they had problems, but they had a lot more harmonious type relationships. And they certainly were very much about family and looking after each other and looking after, your tribe, your part in that contribution. Right. So, yeah.
Well, and, people, a lot of people that settled this country in the first part of the 1900s didn't question government.
Right.
They were fearful from the countries they came from of government. They wouldn't speak out if they saw something going on. They would think that that's the way it is. And what can I say or do? I'm new to this country. And, a lot of people probably saw that and really didn't know how to react.
Yes.
And, it's sad that it did happen for so long too.
Very much, very much. I don't know if I told you this, my revised mission statement that I created through the COVID times is that I added a provision, and the provision is this: that before I breathe my last breath, I will prevent adverse childhood experiences from occurring, and I will assist people who have suffered that childhood trauma in reaching a conclusion or healing from that or moving forward from that. So that's kind of my mission. Now, if you think about that and First Nation kids, so they've had 6 generations of not only those adverse childhood experiences, but then also the racism and discrimination on top of that, right? It's been huge.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, and, you don't want to be forgetting the past, but, you don't want to collect all that stuff and hang on to it too tightly either. You want to learn from the past and keep notes. Like, I don't think getting rid of some of these statues of people that we held in high regards that had stuff to do with this is probably a good idea, because then you're just kind of sweeping it under the rug. I mean, recognizing what they did was wrong, but also recognizing the things that they did was right. They may have really not known much better either. And we're looking at things through a different lens with a lot more education and forethought than they had at that time.
Yes.
It doesn't make it right, but you definitely don't want people to forget.
Yeah.
And that's my fear of getting rid of these relics of the past, is that, what if some society in the future forgets,
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of that, do you know Peter Imhoff, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Peter, he's a Rotarian with the Mosaic.
Yeah.
And he's very much involved in our community, making our community a better place.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that he is doing May 4th, 5th, and 6th is a thing about the Holocaust, and basically framing the Holocaust in discrimination and racism unchecked, like gone wild, if you will, right? And that's what resulted in the Holocaust, as a little bit of a reminder, right? When we are factoring in all these different divisions and all this different divisiveness, I guess would be a better way to say it, all this divisiveness, well, then what is that going to cause, right? That is definitely the maximum divisiveness, that these people are all bad and we're going to kill them all. Like, I mean, so his, doing a little dance there. That's what he's doing now. He has on those 3 nights a thing about the Holocaust, thing with the Holocaust survivor, and just kind of, refreshing what that was about, right? And refreshing, like, he grew up in Germany, right? Mm-hmm. So as a German, it was like a very much a thing for him, that it was, very eye-opening for him as well. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that was a horrible time in history for sure.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. So, what else do you want to chat about, Chris? We're usually about a half-hour show. I think we're more than a half hour now. So,
well, we were originally starting to talk about empathy, and we kind of probably everything we talked about had empathy as a theme.
Yes.
And we were talking about just people getting through the rest of the pandemic and that kind of stuff. And asking, what can the world show you something new every day? And also, you have to ask yourself, what can you do to be enriched and satisfied in the world? And maybe writing a gratitude list wouldn't hurt. Trying meditation or yoga. And if you try and don't like it,
yes,
you might be miserable for a little bit less time. That's all.
But hey, I understand what you're saying. Why not try different things? Why not explore and see if there's something that would serve your life well, that would make you easier for you to be the best version of yourself, right? Or to assist you in moving forward with your growth and development, that kind of a thing. Are you a meditator, Chris?
No, I mean, you don't have to actually, I think, to be a meditator, you can just be thinking about something while you're driving or, doing a menial task. It doesn't mean you have to actually sit and home or anything like that. I don't do that, or put smoke on, or I'll do yoga just for mainly when I have a sore back until it goes away, and then I'm good for a while, or to recuperate after a couple of hard days of skiing, I guess.
Oh yes, yeah.
Do some good stretches so I can go back out and do it again. So
got it.
I took advantage of the pandemic this year, and I was a regular at Castle Mountain. So
nice. Got a lot of skiing in.
I did. Yeah.
Do you, and now, where we're more than a year into the pandemic, are you in better health now than you were before, or worse health?
I would say better. I've lost, actually, if you can believe it or not, I've lost 15 pounds.
Woo! You didn't need to lose anything, but you lost 15. Wow.
15 I didn't need, I guess. So
yeah, cool.
But at the beginning of the pandemic, I was hearing people going, "Oh, I've gained this," and I was actually going up a little bit, and I'm like, I'm too cheap. If the pants start fitting too tight, I start making some changes, because I'm not buying the bigger pair. That's not going to happen.
Nice.
Even to lose 15 pounds is a bunch of work. I am too lazy to lose any more than that. If I got
But was that a conscious thing you did, or it just happened because of your change in activities?
No, it was actually a bit of a conscious thing. I like to make little small changes, and then I'm not put out a lot. I don't have to do a ton of different things. So I think I cut back a little bit on my breakfast. Instead of having 2 pieces of bread with wild butter on them in the morning, I cut back to 1.
Yeah. Okay.
And I didn't starve, so I kept doing it, and and cut back drinking a little bit.
Oh yes, yeah.
And,
well, that's the opposite trend for most people, right? They cut back on drinking. So.
Well, and an innocent little drink is 100 and something calories, and
exactly.
I heard a guy say that the difference between gaining weight and losing weight can be as much as one potato chip.
One potato chip, that's it. Yeah.
Difference between putting it on or not, or losing it, right?
So, yeah, exactly.
I don't want to wait until I have to forget about the whole bag. I still want to have some chips on the weekend or whatever, So anyway, it was fun.
Yeah. Well,
No. I should have had the ringer off on it.
Oh, okay. No worries. Yeah. I'm just going to say, I also lost some weight, but not intentionally. I just found, and I never realized this before, my body likes to move a lot more than I was moving it before COVID. So like I would drive 40 hours a month, generally 4,000 kilometers every month. So 40 hours I'm sitting in a car, and then, hours and hours I'm sitting in chairs and that kind of thing. Well, now I find, like now I'm standing up when I'm doing this, and I stand for most of the meetings I have on Zoom. So I'll stand or I'll rock or I'll move, that kind of a thing. Yeah. And I just find that my torso has kind of has really trimmed, and I've lost weight, and I wasn't planning on doing it, but just from standing around doing this and singing. I sing a lot, sing about an hour a day. So
nice. And that's got to be good exercise too.
Everywhere. Like, I mean, it works, your diaphragm works, all of your the muscles related to your core, and even massages all your internal organs, emotionally, mentally. It's I think it's the best activity you could do for your personal health and well-being. So,
well, I'm no doctor, but the Alzheimer's treatments, a lot of them involve, wasn't there an experimental one where they're doing something to some blood vessels in the neck?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Opening them up. So basically, isn't it along the same lines as getting your heart rate up to a certain amount, and getting everything pumping and pushing, keeping those blood vessels moving? And
makes sense to me.
The blood flow to the brain. I heard a lot of people even just shallow breathe, and once in a while, if you just took a good breath, and singing probably does the same sort of thing. So,
well, yeah, like I'm like using my whole lung capacity quite regularly for a long period of time, right?
Yeah.
And I like to do like songs where you kind of more belt them out a little bit, like more bluesy type ones, and so then you're utilizing that as well, right? So yeah.
I thought you told me that there might be some singing on this show. Did you have a song you were going to try and sing, or?
Well, sure. What do you want me to?
I can't remember the last time I heard you sing, but
all right. Well, tell me what you might like, and I'm gonna find a song. I know a couple hundred songs, so I can find something close. When you were a kid, what kind of stuff did you listen to?
You know what I do when I go to the hairdresser?
No.
I tell them to do your best work. You do the haircut you want to do, not the one you think I want. I've even gone into a restaurant, Al, and I've told the chef, I want you to make me what you want to make tonight.
Oh, interesting.
Whatever you like to make, that's what I want to eat. I don't care what it is. I will pay you whatever you charge me for that meal, and I will eat it without complaint. But I want you're a chef. I want you to put down something that you really want to make with whatever you got back there. And
I got to tell you, this inspires me to tell you this story. Corolla and I were in Seattle probably, 10 years ago. And we're driving around Seattle, and it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. We're hungry, and we're looking for a place to eat. And there's this little divey kind of Italian place there, right? Or it looks kind of divey anyways, right? Yeah. So, and it didn't look like there was a whole bunch of people. So we walk in. And so we walk in, and they found us a place. And the owner from the restaurant comes over and talks to us, and blah, blah, blah. And, oh yeah, what kind of food do you like? And blah, 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 that kind of thing. And so we have this nice little conversation, that kind of thing. And then he goes away, and then the server comes back, and we said, so you're going to take our order? I said, oh no, you've already given your order. He said, how? the chef, the owner, he asks you the questions, that he makes what you say you like, right? So, and it was really, really good. And he just brought out a whole, whatever we wanted, he made up. And then the one we really liked, this pasta dish, he went and made some more, right? So it was a pretty interesting dining experience. So yeah.
That is cool. And was it a small restaurant?
Yeah, it was probably only like maybe 40 tables, something like that, and had an upper and a lower, and we saw it up on the top under the stars, and yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, there's some really cool restaurants. When we were in Portugal a bunch of years ago, we ended up at this little restaurant that, like, it was like a bar, an L-shaped bar.
Oh yes.
2 tables on the floor beside it, and that was the capacity of the whole place.
That's it, eh? Yeah.
And he had them lined up outside.
Yeah.
And the food was so good. And him and his wife, just him and his wife cooking.
Is that right, eh?
Portuguese restaurant. And the food was amazing, but very simple.
Yeah.
Not a lot of saucy stuff. And, you know, we ordered fish and it just came, here's your fish, the whole fish cooked in nice garlic and butter or whatever they did it in. And just everything was real food on your plate. Nothing canned or, you know, frozen before. And it was really good.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sing you a song.
Okay.
Do you know the song 16 Tons?
I will when you're done.
All right. I'm gonna put my headphones on because I can hear myself better.
Okay.
Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood and skin and bone, with a mind that's weak and a back that's strong. He loads 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning in the drizzling rain, a fighting and trouble are my middle names. I was raised in the Cambridge mine on Mama line, and no high-toned woman make me walk the line. I loaded 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine. I loaded 16 tons, a number 9 coal, and the strong boss said, well, bless my soul, he loaded 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. If you see me coming, better step aside. A lot of men didn't, and a lot of men died. One fist of iron, the other is steel. If the left one don't get you, then the right one will. I loaded 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Your mute's on.
That would remind me of a song that would go good with some kind of movie with a mine going on and somebody shoveling and working their butt off. So good song.
Exactly. Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, you threw lots into that. You threw all your heart and soul into that.
That's kind of my style. It's not good, but it's everything I got. So, you know.
Hey, that's the best thing, is to give everything you got. That's what singing is, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And then you enjoy it. If I'm really enjoying it, I'm hoping that it's also of interest to others. But if it's not, at least I'm really enjoying it. Like that song was done by Tennessee Ernie Ford. And so I could listen to Tennessee Ernie Ford sing it, and he does an amazing job. And that would be, out of 100, that would be 80 in terms of my joy from listening to that song. But for me singing it, even if I can't sing it as good as Tennessee Ernie Ford, that's like 99%. That's like, I really enjoy, the expression of the song. So, yeah.
Reminds me of a singer. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was pretty funny. He had sung a bunch of stuff, and then he said, I'm going to play this song I wrote. And he says, if you don't like it, there's really not much I can do about it. And he just started to play. Not much I can do about it. Not much I'm going to do about it, but.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you don't like it, there's not much I can do about it.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, yeah, I do that I sing about 45 minutes to an hour every day. And just like this, I go and stream it at about 4 or 5 o'clock, depending on my day. And yeah, so I do that. And then, which like I've picked that practice up, and I just like, the more I do it, the more I enjoy it, and the more benefit I get from it, the better I feel mentally and emotionally and physically. So it's an amazing thing. So
there you go. There you go. Yeah. Lots of good things you can do in this world, for sure.
Exactly. As we're talking about learning from others, there's something to learn from everybody you meet. There's all kinds of opportunities for us to learn, and we've never had access to information like we do now. Like, man, I got like 5 courses on the go, and they're all excellent courses. I just like, I have to start saying no to excellent things that are free even, right? It's just, yeah.
There's only so much you can do in a day.
Exactly.
Sure. Well,
But hey, to be curious, to want to learn, to want to engage with people, to want to be of value to them, those are like makes life special, right?
You betcha, for sure. Definitely. Yeah.
Chris, you are a beautiful human being. I always enjoy chatting with you, my friend. How about we call it good for tonight?
I appreciate you having me be on your show. And,
yeah. So I appreciate you joining me, because, we didn't want to make Brother Daniel come on here and croak and cough and fall asleep on me. So
no, and if he's watching or listening, Brother Daniel, I hope you get feeling better real fast.
Perfect.
My wife's in the same boat. She took the AstraZeneca yesterday at lunch, and by 8 or 9 at night, she wasn't feeling too good. And she's doing okay now, but she's in bed all day today. And she's a tough gal. I haven't seen her in bed all day for years. So
yeah. Oh, wow. So Daniel just had his today as well. So he's probably following the same kind of path as Teresa, that it's going to be next 10 hours is going to be ugly, and after that it's going to get better. So
yeah. Well, and then I don't imagine getting COVID would be any better than
no.
Maybe a lot longer of a period of time than a day. So
yes, exactly. I have my colleague Vanessa and her family all have COVID, the variant version. So they're like 24 days, I think they're staying home, right?
Oh,
yeah. Wow. And, their son, not bothered at all. He has it, but he's no symptoms, nothing, but they're both, the adults are both hurting units a little bit. So,
but they're not hospitalized though.
No, they're at home. Good. Yeah. They're just home and getting extra sleep and taking care of themselves. And yeah, so.
Well, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear. I hope they're okay, but those variants definitely don't help us out.
No.
For sure.
Have you had your vaccine?
I've had the first shot. I took the AstraZeneca on March 13th when my age group came up.
Yes.
Okay. No problem. I went online on a Friday night, got in Saturday morning at the exhibition. And
you know what? I was there the same day as you. March 13th, I had my first shot at AstraZeneca.
Okay. So then you were saying that you were older than me. I don't think you are.
Well, I'm a little. You said you were born in 62?
60.
60. Yeah, I'm born in 58. So I'm 2 years old.
A couple of years. No big deal.
Anyways, let me tell you this, Chris. You might find this interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A week ago, I contacted, I heard about the pharmacies having the AstraZeneca now, right? So I called my pharmacy, Stafford Pharmacy, and said, hey, they're, Igor, well, how about this AstraZeneca thing? And how about the second shot? And he said, the second shot is the same as the first shot. They're both the same. It's not like one being different than the other. So I said, okay, well, when do I get the second shot? And he says, well, the 4 months is basically what you've probably been told, but really from a health perspective, anytime after 28 days, which you are now, anytime after 28 days is fine. Get the second shot. And I said, how do I get the second shot? Go to our website and register for your appointment. So I think that was Friday. I registered and went Tuesday and got the second shot.
Sure. I mean, if they're letting you do it, take it.
Exactly.
I heard that it's so much misinformation out there, and they said that they would text me, so I'm just going to wait for that. I'm good.
Yeah. Got it.
I mean, that's the whole thing. If you're putting it off and you're not 100% sure you want to get it, it takes about 3 weeks to really, even after the first shot, for it to become effective takes about 3 weeks. And then like you said, you got your second shot right away, but most people are going to wait 12 to 16 weeks for the second shot. So if you're thinking about going anywhere, they open up some borders, you want to get on a cruise ship or a flight, good luck. You're not going to be allowed without a vaccine passport of some sort.
Exactly. And that's actually, they gave me a little card that showed my two, like that I've had both vaccines, right? So,
Most governments are letting businesses be the bad guys when it comes to what they're going to do about accepting people with vaccines or not.
Yes. Yeah.
And society's just going to continue to pay for COVID for a long time to come.
It will be. Yeah, no question. No question. And you know what? You think about so industries that are going to come back in way less attenuated type circumstances, restaurants, hotels, travel, entertainment, those I can't see them in the near future at all being anything like they were before COVID. I can't see that happening. So the people that were employed in those industries of no fault of their own, they don't have jobs to go to, right? And they won't have jobs. Like when everything starts moving again, it's probably only going to be 10% of those people are going to come back to work, right? Yeah. So what do you do go forward? And the only thing that, and I wouldn't have said this before, but in where we are now, I think a universal basic income is the only way to kind of move things forward. And I know that's a cost, but I can't see anywhere else how you're going to do things. Are you familiar with universal basic incomes?
Oh yeah, I am. Yeah. I mean, it's a slippery slope. It's a hard sell for a lot of people, and it probably would help a lot of people that could use it. It might replace some existing programs that are out there too. But in the end, there is only one taxpayer. So
that's true. I agree.
And we're not paying enough. Our country will owe $1 trillion in already spent stuff. That's not going to give us really anything. Maybe we're driving on some of those roads or going to some of the hospitals that money's owed for, but that's a fair chunk of money.
Well, it is, but back on the other side, I certainly want to see people down on the street and the sidewalk when you're going and you're walking into businesses that they are got enough to look after themselves. They got enough access. Mm-hmm. If there's no jobs available, no fault on theirs that their industry evaporated because of COVID or self-destructed. So I can't see any other solution. And we're not having a political conversation. I'm just, I just don't see any other way to have a solution for people to have the resources they need to look after themselves and their families.
Well, there's whole industries that are just dying to get born. A lot of these people could be retrained to do other things, like set up a solar factory to build solar panels in some of these empty buildings. Even do it in downtown Calgary. There's lots of empty office space.
Sure.
Organize this stuff. People could be reemployed making and building things. Refining products. We send a lot of our crops out in train loads of raw materials when we could be making them into 50-pound bags of something for 10 times the price, kind of thing. So, doing a lot more value-added things. There's a lot of industries that just don't have enough capital to get going and enough trained people to get them going. But there's a lot of things that we could be doing to employ people.
That's true. That's true.
Government doesn't even know what we need. They're just people like you and I, and everybody expects a lot out of only a few people.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And you know what? Even like the with government, would you want that job to be involved in a government? A counselor on city council? I wouldn't want that job. It's way too much work, right? And you're like, it's like it'd be a painful way to. I think it's not work that I would want to do. I'm less and less interested. You might be, though. You're very, you're a businessman. You're a caring, concerned citizen. Are you going to run for council? Are you going to run for mayor, Chris? Is this your mayoral candidacy announcement?
You know what? It would be a good job, and to be the mayor would be the best one. It's the full-time job, and it pays like a full-time job. The councilors work like it's a full-time job, but they only get paid like it's a part-time job. And it is apparently a part-time job still for our city. It's been a part-time job forever. It should be full-time, and they should bump up the salary another 50 a year, and they'd attract a whole different set of candidates. You know, most people probably couldn't afford to leave their jobs or give up all that time. Like, you know, like I said, I watched my dad be a politician when I was a kid.
Right. He was the mayor of Flin Flon, you said, right?
And he was on council for a term and on the hospital board and Lions Club and a whole bunch of other stuff. So he was gone all the time. And, you know, I don't, you know, anyway.
But that's a cost, right? He made a sacrifice, and you didn't have the choice, but you would want to spend more time with him if he was available. That would have been a good thing, right? So there was a cost to your family for him to be involved in politics. So
yeah. So anyway, they bumped up the salary a little bit. They don't pay politicians enough. That'll start a good argument. I know.
Yeah, that will.
They don't get paid enough.
Anyways, Chris, thank you so much. That was fun to have that chat. Yeah. And let's call that good. See you later.
See you, everybody.